In country club.
Yep, I can hear you. Yep, the car's gone. That's where everyone's gathering now. They've moved closer to where this is. Okay. I was just checking the poll. Okay. Yeah, the police have pulled out, the barricades have been removed, and everyone has kind of moved down the street closer to where this all happened. You might be able to see there's some flowers, other tributes here. The crowd is now smaller than it once was. It's now between 1 and 200, where it was, hundreds before. No law enforcement presence here, whatsoever. People are now gathering around the spot of where this all happened to, pay tribute and pay respects to what happened. And, a very different feeling, a very different mood here, quiet, more of somber and remembrance, where before it was a lot more about, frustration and anger towards what happened. That was further down from where we were located, so I didn't, see what was happening there. It might have been part of, the general commotion of moving all of these vehicles out, moving all the barricades out. Anytime, that there was movement with law enforcement, that, got a reaction from the crowd. So I think pulling out that many cars, that many officers, and all of the barricades may have been the reason for that happening. Well, I think it's a lot of anger. This is something that I think that has been bubbling up in this community for a while. People, a lot of in this neighborhood, not wanting ICE here, and then when this word broke out this morning, there was a few people here right away, but we saw the crowd grow throughout the day as more and more people became aware of this situation. You saw that there were city leaders, pretty much every member of the Minneapolis City Council was out here, pretty much kind of a Rolodex, if you will, of community leaders here in Minneapolis, elected officials, all coming down here to try to figure out what's going on. And I think at first people were trying to kind of a wait and see, trying to see what happened, but then as the day went on and more information got out, I think the crowd got a little more angry, more agitated. But so far, we've been seeing a peaceful protest here on the street. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to text them and let them know what this looks like.
10% people actually active, 50% being, maybe 40% just observing as a court. How may I help you?
Okay, which voice on?
I think it's just an info what people say. I'm not sure. I haven't heard if anyone is connected yet. But I have to kind of keep an eye out.
Yeah, it looks like you guys did it too. You saw a lot of influencers showing up during George Floyd, so it was always interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creepy cameras nowadays.
Yeah, people like attention. I had a buddy who's in Ukraine right when the Russians were rolling in. It was surreal. He's got photos of just some girlfriend posed in front of a plane. It was just Malak. What do you do?
Yo, can you imagine the civil rights movement? People showing up more and take selfies with it.
Worse things.
Like that's popping.
Exposure travels far.
I think we all come here today. This young lady did not deserve to be killed. And we are what's taking place in our city, here in Minneapolis. We are here because we're praying for her. Because this morning when she woke up, she did not know she would be killed. And the community, as you can see, the forces of the city of Minneapolis is at a time when we all are trying to figure it out. Why? Why here? Why in Minneapolis? We want to make sure that no one is being killed because they want to protect their community. Tina, why did you feel when you were Well, I feel like it's an honoring of her, and it's a statement for all of us that are resisting ICE. This is a murder by ICE. Let's not be confused for anything. It is a murder. If I showed up with my friend here who brought the flowers, to honor her, and to honor all of us in struggle, and honor all of us who are resisting. She didn't know that. She didn't know that at all. And then you can see ICE showed up in our community terrorizing. But look at the ICE on the ground because of the blood of a young woman who did not do anything that deserves to be killed. We don't know who she is, but we are here to let the world know this is not acceptable. We must stop right now. What do you hope this moment happens tomorrow? We want that directly goes to our president. We need to come to Minnesota. Meet with the community. Do not send and terrorize people. We are in one community in Minneapolis. We would like to see this must stop right now. Mr. Trump, come to Minnesota. We invite you to come here. But don't send. Where is the terror? Is it here in the United States, in this government? Or where is it outside the United States? This young woman did not deserve to be killed for it. You see ICE on the ground? And blood? You see the blood on top of the ice? Why ICE?
That's the entry station. I'm going to upload all the footage. This is on this side. So that's footage for everyone as they're moving this way, this west and stuff. The close-ups of the car. The whole north.
What is the terrorist
Pulling the car and all of that.
who are really now?
So that would be before we land. Yeah, I'm about to upload all this stuff.
Well, it's horrifying. And it is, it is an act of state apparatus to control and
Can I get your name one more time?
And I just want to be sure it's all of us. I mean, she brought the flowers. Kaya Steen brought the flowers. What did you ask? I'm sorry.
Your name
Oh,
one more time.
Janet Gallem, G-A-H-L-E-M.
Thank you.
Yes, that one reason I brought the flowers is that we as a people,
Just like pull the legs apart. Perfect. So, you want to get set up in a spot? They're in the. There's a guy getting a little emotional. Come in.
Governor Bench, my name is Bob Jacobson. It is my honor to serve as the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. First of all, I want to acknowledge the reason that we are all here. The loss of life is not anything anyone would ever want. We fully expect that the community will want to peacefully demonstrate their anger or frustration. Minnesota residents and visitors have the right to peacefully demonstrate. We recognize that demonstrations are often driven by strong emotions, beliefs, and certainly a desire to be heard. Our role is to help ensure everyone can express themselves without anyone getting hurt. The Minnesota Department of Public Safety's role through the Minnesota State Patrol is to ensure safety, protect constitutional rights, keep roads accessible, and above all, to prevent harm. Our top priority is public safety. Our focus is keeping demonstrators, community members, drivers, and law enforcement safe, especially during moments of heightened tension or uncertainty. Demonstrations must remain safe and lawful, particularly around roadways. We will join with our partners to support safety while respecting the right to protest. With that in mind, I'd like to share a few safe and lawful ways to demonstrate. Minnesotans can safely and legally express their views in many ways, including getting together peacefully with others in public spaces, marching or walking, not on roadways, making your voice heard through chants, speeches, and displaying signs, being present in public areas where pedestrians are allowed, gathering in designated or permitted areas, and these actions will allow people to express themselves while protecting the safety of everyone involved. Unsafe or illegal actions could result in fines or arrests. Certain behaviors create serious hazards that threaten public safety, disrupt emergency services, or put people at risk. These actions could result in fines or arrest. Demonstrating on or entering a freeway on foot, walking on highways, throwing objects, starting or setting fires, damaging property or graffiti, using illegal fireworks, displaying or using illegal weapons, reckless or dangerous driving, especially near pedestrians, and certainly assaultive, aggressive, or riotous behavior toward anyone. We all want definitive answers to what happened today. Our Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is working in conjunction with the FBI to investigate this morning's shooting. As you know, we don't comment on active investigations, but also keep in mind that this is an investigation is also in its infancy. So any speculation about what had happened would be just that. And we will not engage in speculation. With that, I will turn it back over to the governor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'd be glad to take any questions. Yeah, and I can let General Schaefer talk about this. It so happens it's a training weekend. We've got about 7,500 troops in training at our sites, training sites across the state. What it is, and in the National Guard, you give a warning order, which is a heads up of something could be coming. That just allows people to think about what they would need, what it would mean to mobilize, what it would mean to put them in. And I could let the general talk a little bit about this. Obviously, since the summer of 2020, we had a lot of work done on teams being ready to make sure that civil unrest. And what that means, and I think Commissioner Jacobson was very clear, and I want Minnesotans to hear this from me. The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time, but it needs to be done safely. And I think the commissioner simply just laid out some of those parameters. We can do that. This is the peaceful resistance that we need. Simon, you want to say a few things about what that means to have them on the ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Governor. So for the military, Minnesota National Guard is comprised of 13,000 soldiers and airmen. We live all across and work throughout Minnesota. A warning order is just an initial step to increase your preparations. The Minnesota Guard is always prepared to respond and support state agencies and the citizens of Minnesota. So what that means for us today is just some additional checks on equipment that is ready at all times, and maybe some additional phone calls to service members who might be activated, but no activations. We are embedded with our state agencies here at the Operations Center to just continue parallel planning in the event that we are needed to support.
Thanks, General. And I would make note, Mary, and to Minnesotans on this about the National Guard, they're there to protect you and protect your constitutional rights. These are our neighbors. They don't wear masks. They don't bust in from somewhere else. They're not here to cause hassles to you or what we saw today, the tragedy. Having them at the ready to make sure, because when we see these types of things happen, and we saw it after the murder of George Floyd, there's folks that want to cause chaos. There's the disruptors in it. And while the vast majority of those protests were peaceful expressions of their First Amendment rights, there were those that destroyed property and put people at risk. The National Guard is there to make sure that peaceful protests are able to be done, and that those that want to do the destruction are stopped from doing that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I think apparently by a federal agent, not by Minnesotans who were there to express their First Amendment rights. I think we've seen this to have folks ready. The gatherings that were down there today, I think this shocked everyone. People showed up as they should. There's people putting flowers down on a memorial. There's people expressing their anger. It's just as these situations develop, we decide when we need to move these people out. And I think the local reporters know well on this. Both unfortunately and for us, the upside of this is that we're very good and we've had practice at this. And I just want to, again, implore Minnesotans, I am not telling you not to express your anger or your frustrations or the outrage that we have. Look, this was totally predictable, as I said it yesterday, and it was totally
State Patrol people are on the ground right now, and then also, okay, I'll just ask her. So the governor was mentioning mobilizing more of the State Patrol. How many State Patrol people are on the ground in Minneapolis right now? And should there have been more State Patrol people on the ground a couple of weeks ago when ICE came?
So the question was, how many State Patrol troopers have been deployed to the city of Minneapolis? Right now, we don't talk typical numbers because that is considered security information. We do have a specialized team that does deal with crowd control, and so they have been deployed. But again, they are from all over the state of Minnesota, so they will come in tiers to the state.
And they had already been on the ground to some extent before today?
No, it was in response to this event.
Just to clarify the intention of deploying National Guard, is there any chance that the National Guard can be deployed against federal agents to protect Minnesotans?
I'm sorry.
What was the Minnesota National Guard ever deployed against federal agents to protect Minnesotans, given the context of what happened earlier today?
Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government. I think in this case that the National Guard is their main mission. They have a dual mission. There's the federal mission when they're under Title 10 orders, and then they're under Title 32 orders. And this warning order, there's nothing officially been done yet. If I am to activate them as the Commander-in-Chief of the Minnesota National Guard, I will issue the executive order to the Minnesota National Guard, and then they will be put in state duty status. And as you've seen over the last few years, that could be flood prevention, that could be after a wind-blowing storm up in the north, up in Bemidji, or it could be COVID or George Floyd response. In this case, again, it doesn't necessarily change the mission. They're there to protect Minnesotans. They're there to serve Minnesotans. I think the thing that is so challenging in the moment we're in is we don't see a desire to work with us on public safety. We hear a demonization of our state. We see people coming in who don't know our community. and we see this massive display for the TVs that we're trying to understand how is this coordinated. And some of you watch the videos on there, total chaos. And look, I have very limited work in this is the training in the National Guard, but I've had a lot of training now to watch how our professionals operate. After this person was shot, federal agents milling around, touching the vehicle at a crime scene and things. I don't know what to tell you, and I don't quite know how to respond to the question other than my primary responsibility as governor is the protection of the people of Minnesota. And you can be assured, whether it's the State Patrol or whether it's the National Guard, their deployment is there to protect Minnesotans from whatever it is. If it's an act of nature, if it's a global pandemic, or in this case, if it is a rogue federal agent. I don't know at this time, and I want to be very careful. It's unprecedented that we have the federal government's already determined exactly what's happened here and the motives of an individual that we don't even know the name. They don't know the name, and that's very difficult. So, well, one more, Dana. Dana.
The president's tweet, he says, quote, "We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence in July." Wondering what you make of that, if you're worried for law enforcement.
Look, and I understand the uniqueness of this moment in this week, following this week, seeing what's happening in the backdrop of a show hearing in D.C. My job is to govern, and my job is to see what the facts are. This happened a couple of hours ago, and we're already pitting American against American. All of you saw a video in your eyes. We have a chaotic situation caused by the largest deployment in American history of federal agents into a community with no communication to locals. We had a chaotic situation where an individual is in their car, shot and killed. And so, look, I want to be very cautious here because Donald Trump will make this about me. He will make this about politics. This is about public safety, and this is about normalcy. To Americans who are watching this, if you're in Portland or you're in LA or you're in Chicago or you're wherever they're coming next, stand with us. Stand with us against this. This was so preventable, so unnecessary, and I don't know. I hope. Maybe we're at the McCarthy moment. Do you have no decency? Do you have no decency? We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever. And I don't want to be right about this, but I said if they do this, they're going to create a chaotic situation where someone innocent's going to get killed. And they did it. And now we hear more political rhetoric. Enough. Enough is enough. And so to Minnesotans, don't take the bait. Do not take the bait. Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law. Do not allow them to lie about the security and the decency of this state. And let's let this investigation play itself out. Let's make sure we protect our neighbors. I encourage you to use your First Amendment rights and all of your constitutional rights, but do so in a peaceful manner. We'll gather back with you as soon as we gather more information that needs to be put out. But again, stay safe, Minnesotans, and we'll be back with you.